So this is my dashboard for my WordPress website, and I'm going to go to posts and add new. And this is just what I do. Secret life of, and I don't know whether that's, so you can see actually with my WordPress, for me, it actually gives me a number. It scores my headline, and this was actually a pretty good score. So they like 80 to 90. I did a someone recently was 90, but usually I aim for like the 70 to 80 range. 66 is pretty good for just starting out. So, the secret life of your elevator pitch. And so the way a lot of people are talking about ChatGPT for writing blog articles, but I don't like ChatGPT to write stuff for me. And I think that if you're using ChatGPT, what I recommend is kind of what I'll show you. I like to put a story. I like to put a personal story. Those of you who are on my blog know I like to put a personal story around it. And the story, I tend to like to start the story in the middle. So our neighbor chases us chases us around cul-de-sac. Chase us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. And again, I don't know, will that be the opening line? I doubt it. Like, it'll change as we go, but that's just um, this is where I try to figure out where I'm going with this. The story, and sometimes I speak out loud to think about it. So the story is that we had my wife had sent a text. My kids are getting to be babysitting age, and they want to babysit. And there's seven families on our street that have kids that are kind of the right age. And so a couple of weeks ago, my wife sent out a text that said, "Hey, our daughter can babysit," and we heard nothing. Heard nothing. And so then we go. So the story is that we went to this block party, and we didn't. And we were just talking to people we knew, kind of thing. And then we decided to leave. So my wife had to get to DC, and this neighbor literally chased us around the cul-de-sac to flag us down because she wanted, one of our children to babysit. And so the story is that your elevator pitch is working, even if it doesn't feel like it does, right? Like you're sending the message out there, and people are listening to it and thinking about it, but you have to keep showing up. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. And now it's just a question of writing that. Chases us around cul-de-sac. Chases us around the cul-de-sac. My And I tend to like to write in the present tense. I like you don't have to, like, there's plenty of great writing in past tense, but I feel like present tense kind of gives it's kind of stylistic for me. Um, I mean, this happened weeks ago, but it's still I write it as though it's happening now. I had an English teacher who told me that, you actually write the intro, the first sentence comes last. So I just keep thinking about, I didn't like Chase. It felt like she was trying to run us over in her car. So never runs after us as we walk. And I'll say this is typical for what I do. I just keep kind of working on it. It's eventually it comes together, but it's just writing. Um, how do I name it? And it's good using direct quotes is actually a good technique too. It just puts things more in the present. It helps break up the run of text. It never runs after us. We walk around the cul-de-sac. My wife and I are leaving the block party. So unhappy with this that it's hard to know where to go with it, but we're getting there. Runs after us. We walk around the cul-de-sac. My wife and I are leaving our street block party. No, maybe that's what it is. So I just combined those two sentences, and I'm having much happier. My wife and I are leaving our street block party, and our neighbor runs after us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. You're going to the babysitter. Yes. Please. Back to Chase's. I don't know why. Chases us around the cul-de-sac. That was our dead end street. All right, so let's start together. My wife and I are leaving our street block party. Our neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. So that I'm trying to get something that draws people in, right? I mean, I'm just looking for the kind of thing that I like. Why is she chasing us down? What the question you can ask? I asked the question. Yes, but other than that, baby. And so you see, I'm trying to be. If you read my blog, it's not usually more than like 300 words. So I'm really telling the story very efficiently, and that's what I'm working on. So my wife and I are leaving our street block party, and I read it out loud all the time. I'll end up reading it out loud like 10 times before I'm done because that helps me smooth it out. So my wife and I are leaving our street block party, and our neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. Is your daughter the babysitter? Yes, my daughters are now babysitting age and interested in making money. I read it out loud because I find things that are wrong. Yes, my daughters are now babysitting age and interested in making money. And since there are 7 families on our dead end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range, it seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent that's going to be past tense. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a message to all the families to send a text. Families. Babysitting age and making money. Isn't through. I just keep I just keep editing it. That's
You always add it again over and over.
I edit over and over and over. I mean, sometimes it just comes together, but not usually. Like this is not an unusual process.
Yeah.
My wife and I are leaving our street block party. Our neighbor chased us around the cul-de-sac to ask, your daughter a babysitter? Yes, my daughter's now babysitting age and interested enough in making money that they sat through a certification course for babysitting. Add to that the 7 families on our dead end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range. It seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying that her daughters are available for babysitting. And see, it flows. Like I like the flow of it. Like this is coming together. And again, it's just I didn't know I was going to write this, but here we are. She got back complete and utter silence. Nothing, not a word. Today we decide. Good. So I think that's good. Play the block party. The block party. For the block party, we chat. We chat with the parents from the Wiz about babysitting. Well, and as you may know, and it gets me thinking about your elevator pitch is kind of that's my line about
that's where you want to go back to your business, right?
That's where I tie it to the business. Yes. Yeah, so it gets me thinking about your elevator. So that's what I that's just it's a phrase I use that ties the story I'm telling. And that's the thing with ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT is great for doing a lot of things, but it's not good for telling personal stories.
No, you can use it for that. It's just you can get the subject and some general ideas, right? But you got to personalize it. I totally agree with that.
Right. So, so that's the thing now. This is personalizing. All right, so I got to go back and read it again because I need to get back into it. Buck and I are leaving a street block party, and our neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. Is your daughter the babysitter? Yes, my daughter's now babysitting age and interested enough in making money. They sat through a certification course for babysitting. Add to that 7 families on our dead end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range. It seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying their daughters are available for babysitting. She got back complete and utter silence. Nothing, not a word. Today, busy schedule and you see, we decided to stop by despite a busy schedule today. In between this busy schedule sounds so we're busy today. In between today between theater activities. Nothing, not a word. Today, in the middle of running between sports and theater activities, it's still misspelled right. That's annoying. Today, in the middle of running between sports and theater activities, we decided to stop by the block party. Always too busy to network, but not today. We chat for a while. The parents were friendly with. And the need to have overwhelms. Trying to think what the phrase is here. No one's always desire to be social. It gets me thinking about it. So there it is. All right. And are leaving our street block party, and a neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac desk. And so that's the thing. You start in the middle, medias res. You start in the middle of the story because that kind of draws people in, and then it gives you something to build towards. If you just start at the beginning, why are you, or a baby? If I start with the kids are a babysitting age, it's kind of like blah blah blah. But the fact that a neighbor's chasing us around the cul-de-sac, I feel like that's a more attention getting thing.
That's a good hook, right?
Yeah, it's a good hook. Yeah. I like that hook. I mean, again, I don't. Again, I may change. I still may change it. Like I reserve that right, but I like that hook. I feel like that. And again, that's why I read it out loud. It feels like it kind of builds on itself. So my wife and I are leaving our street block party, and our neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac to ask a question. Is your daughter the babysitter? Yes, but others are now babysitting age and interested enough in making money. They sat through a certification course for babysitting. Add to that 7 families in our dead end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range, and it seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying that our daughters are available for babysitting. She got back complete and utter silence. Nothing, not a word. Today, in the middle of running between sports and theater activities, we decided to stop by the block party in the few minutes we have before my wife has to pack for a trip to DC. We chat for a while. The other parents were friendly with. Then the need to pack overwhelms. To prepare. I said pack too many times. Twice, too many times. Today, in the middle of running between sports and theater activities, we decided to stop by the block party. In a few minutes, we have it to before my wife to prepare for a trip to DC. We chat for what the other parents were friendly with. Then the need to pack overwhelms my wife's desire to be social. The need to pack overwhelms my wife's sociability, a word I don't even know. My wife's desire to be social. Zach back to us. I guess be thinking about your elevator pitch, because it's working even when you think it isn't. And line 115. Was text, but the families. While for those the networking, that's even if you don't feel it. And then I'm going to hold back to the house. You get me thinking. This just gets me thinking about your elevator. Your elevator is working even when you think it isn't. Even when you think it isn't. The secret is that you still have to shut up. People on the street are interested. So I start writing and then I have to make it make sense.
Yeah.
So we start walking around the cul-de-sac back to our house. As our neighbor chases, that gets me thinking about your elevator pitch, because your elevator pitch is working when you think it isn't. The secret is that you still have to show up. It turns out the people on the street aren't. It turns the people in our. It turns out that people on our street are interested in babysitters. Maybe they didn't respond because they were busy. They have young kids after all. Maybe they didn't respond because it was awkward to make the request in public in a group test. Maybe they didn't respond because, well, do you really care? No. The thing. I have to keep reading it. The thing is that my wife and I didn't really want to go to the block. This is too much exposition. No. Showing up at the block party. Jogged her memory. Well, no, well. Yeah. What matters is that sent out message and show. There we go. What matters is we sent out the message, then showed up. By showing up, we jogged her memory. Inspired, we jogged her memory. Prior to jog after us. So that's one of the, I never would have made that up and, ahead of time, but just, I don't know, jogging, funny. What matters, we sent out the message, then showed up. By showing up, we jogged her memory, which inspired her to jog after us. Same is true of emails. Same is true of emails and LinkedIn posts and in-person events. Well, seems it's not working. It is. Great. All right, I think I may be done.
Cool.
I'm going to leave my street block question. So now I read through it a bunch of times. Now our neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac asking questions. Your daughter babysitter. Yes, my daughter is now a babysitting age and are interested enough in making money that they sat through the certification course for babysitting. The 7 families in our dead end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range. It seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying that our daughters are available for babysitting. She got back a complete notice on us. Nothing, not a word. Today, in the middle of running between sports and theater activities, running. Today, in the middle of dashing between sports and theory activities, decided to stop by the block party in the few minutes Again, I'm just tightening things up. And you can really only tighten things up when you're saying it out loud. I want it to sound like I'm saying it. So it's a kind of a key to writing, that you want it to be in kind of conversational.
Yeah,
Would be
conversational, yeah.
And the only way to do that is to read it out loud. She got back complete notice, nothing. I'm just going to read it through now a bunch of times until I read it through and I don't change anything. Today, in the middle of dashing between sports, I don't like dashing. At the end of the dash between sports and theater activity, we decided to stop by the block party in the students before my wife has for a trip to DC. We chat for what the other parents are friendly with. Then need to pack over once my wife's tired to be social, so we start walking back to our house. And as our neighbor, and as our neighbor chases us, it gets me thinking about your elders, because the elders are just working even when you think it isn't. The secret is that you still have to show up. Turns out the people on the street are interested in babysitters. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because they were busy. They have a kid after all. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because it was awkward to make the request, make the request in public on the group text. Maybe they didn't respond because, well, does it really matter? No. What matters is that we sent the message and then showed up. By showing up, we jogged her memory, which inspired her to jog after us. The same is true of emails and LinkedIn posts and in-person events. It seems like it's working. It seems like it's not working, but secretly it is. And the way to activate it I cannot spell activate today. Activate it. It's to keep showing up. Both daughters have now landed their first baby game on our street, and I can only imagine there'll be more to come. And about that, and about your next networking event, make sure you show up. It's not the only way. It's the only way to make sure. Go up. All right. Helen, save draft. I usually save draft more frequently, but all right. My wife and I are leaving our street block party. And neighbor chases us. I ask this question: is your daughter babysitting? Yes, my daughters are now babysitting age. Are interested in yes, my daughters are now babysitting age. Daughters are now the babysit. Yes, my daughter's now old enough to, yeah, I like that, but it's more active. Apparently, never chased around the college. Yes, my daughter's now old enough to babysit and are interested enough in making money that they sat through a certification course. Obviously, it's for babysitting. Through a certification course for babysitting. Yeah, obviously, it's for babysitting. I don't know what to be interested enough making money that they sat through a certification course. Add to that 7 families dead in the street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range. It seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying that drugs are available. Show back complete numbers. Nothing, not a word. Today in the middle of, yeah, I don't like dashing. Today in the middle of sauntering, sidling. Today in the middle of shuttling. I like shuttling because we were driving, like shuttling our kids back and forth. Today in the middle of shuttling between sports and theater activities, we decided to stop by the block party in a few minutes before my wife's trip to DC. And again, I'm not being explicit about the fact that we didn't really want to go, but we kind of shoehorned it. We chat for a while with the other parents we're friendly with, and that shouldn't be too. That's just one sentence. Chatted for a while. The other parents we're friendly with before the need to pack overwhelms my wife's impulse. Parents are friendly with before the need to pack overwhelms my wife's. We talk about all the other parents are friendly with before the need to pack or once I wife's impulse to be social. So we start walking around the cul-de-sac back to our house. And as our neighbor chases us, it gets me thinking about your elevator pitch, because your elevator is working even when you think it isn't. The secret is yourself to show up. It turns out that people on our street are interested in babysitters. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because they were busy. They have young kids after all. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because it was awkward to make the request in public on the group text. Maybe they didn't respond to the text. I'm a real geek about, that. I mean, I didn't respond to the, and it's funny because WordPress hates that. If you started 3 sentences the same way, like, yes, that's a technique I use. They didn't respond to the text because they were busy. They have young kids after all. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because it was awkward to make the request in public on the group text. Maybe they didn't respond to the text because, well, does it really matter? No. What matters is we sent the message and then showed up. By showing up, we jogged her memory, which inspired her to jog after us. The same is true of emails and LinkedIn posts and in-person events. It seems like it's not working, but secretly it is. And the way to activate it is to keep showing up. Both daughters have now landed their first babysitting gigs on our street, and I can only imagine there'll be more to come. And about your next networking event, make sure you show up to make sure you show up to make sure. And about your next about your next networking event, show up. Show up. Easiest. And about your next network event, show up. That's the easiest way to get the most. All right. Again, I read it again. My wife and I are leaving our street block party, and they were chasing us around the cul-de-sac to ask questions. Is your daughter the babysitter? Yes, my daughters are now old enough to babysit and are interested enough in making money that they sat through a certification course. After that, 7 families on our dead-end street with kids in the 2 to 10 age range. It seems like a good place to start. In fact, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying, it's not in fact to that end. To that end. Seems like a good place to start. To that end, 2 weeks ago, my wife sent a text to these 7 families saying that her daughters are available for babysitting. She got back complete and utter silence. Nothing. Not a word. Today, in the middle of shuttling between sports and theater activities, we decided to stop by the block party in the few minutes before my wife was to prepare for a trip to DC. We chat for all the other parents. The other parents we're friendly with. What does that even mean? We chat for all the other parents. Then the need to pack overwhelms my wife's impulse to be social. So we start walking our cul-de-sac back to our house. That's not a separate sentence. Well, if we social, we start walking around the cul-de-sac back to our house. As our neighbor chases us, it gets me thinking about your elevator, because your elevator is just working even when you think it is. The secret is you still have to show up. It turns out people on our street are interested in babysitters. I don't usually use the talent. Maybe they didn't respond to text because they were too busy. They were busy. They haven't kids after all. Maybe they didn't respond to text because the doctor makes this. Maybe they didn't respond to text. Well, does it really matter? No. We sent out the message and then showed up. By showing up and jogging memory, it's jog after us. Same through emails, LinkedIn posts, and first person. It seems like it's not working, but secretly it is. And the way to activate it is to keep showing up. Both daughters have now landed their first babysitting gigs on our street. I'm happy to report. Both daughters have now landed their first babysitting gigs on our street, and I can only imagine there'll be more to come. And about your next networking event, show up. That's the easiest way to get the most out of your elevator. Excellent. All right. So I usually make a couple of edits to I see if I can like boost the score. So, but I'm not sure. The Secret Life. No, I'm actually not. I'm gonna just go with that one. And I do like to add a picture, a secret life of your elevator pitch. Can you see my? Still see my?
I can see. Yes, I can see. I stock.
So I actually do. I've gotten to the point in my business that I actually buy all the pictures that I use.
I do that too. I have a subscription to some deposit photo is what I use. They're always.
And I mean there are plenty of good free sites too.
Yes.
I haven't like I stock. Like any of these. This has elevators, yeah.
No, it thinks elevate.
Yeah, now it grabbed elevator. It's funny. So Secret Life. That means maybe this one. Interesting. I don't think I'm gonna put someone on the toilet.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for the thought, iStock. I like this, I actually like this confident. This
Maybe this to whispering in somebody's ear. Maybe something.
yeah,
like that.
actually that's not a bad one either. I agree. Because that's the messaging and the a little bit too stylized there. You know what? I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
What if you put in secret messaging?
No, I like the telling a secret. I think that I like that file folder thing, but the telling a secret actually matches with the it's like you're
Idea,
whispering this
right?
to people and they're coming back. I actually don't mind that. I don't mind that.
This one.
I like this one. So I have a folder on my thing that holds all my purchase images. Usually it takes me to it. All right, so the now I have a place for my featured image here. Image. I think that's right. So publish. And it gives me all this like stuff, but I don't there's I don't know. I mean, the nice thing about publishing weekly is that it doesn't. From the quality comes from the quantity. That some of them really blow up and some of them don't. But right in the Secret Life, yeah, publish. All right. All right. So post. Looks good.
Yeah.
I put together my newsletter.
So you take the same content and put it in a newsletter?
That's what I'm going to do now. As I show you the whole, I'm going to show you the whole thing. It takes me about 90 minutes usually to do this every week. So, go to campaigns.
And so you are keeping them to 300 words?
That one's actually, I think a little bit longer than my usual one. But yeah, Yeah, there's, I mean, they're short. You see, I wrote it, some of them are longer. Like I actually just published one about alternatives to going around the room, which is probably a couple thousand words. So that took a little longer to write. But from the weekly, but I'm working on the longer content in addition to the shorter content. But if I sit down to write something for the week, that's kind of how we do it. So, I just go to the last. I did a promotional thing today, but I did. I replicate the last one that I sent. I got The Secret Life of Your Own. See, your elevator is working. No one. So this will go. I'll send this. This is actually next week's article. MailChimp, I don't know, chooses time. So let's find time. Now I have to do the content. And again, it's just, I just have this, so line, right over the line. And I may go back and edit this in the, article too. And the rest of your Black Powder neighbor chases us around the cul-de-sac to ask us a question. And then this is here. And now, so I do a promo up here at the top, and this is last week's. But what I'll promote now is what's going to be July. Oh, yesterday the 11th, so 7 is 18. Or actually, this goes out next week, so it can't even be the 18th. July. I'm so used to doing it. I want to get. I want to start doing these more in advance. Here in a 4-part series of pitch. Actually looked at the mobile thing, and I do not like the way this. I'm going to reformat this because I don't like the way it looks on mobile right now. Part 3 and 4 series, writing a 30-second elevator pitch. Compelling. And this is just the. So that's Text Expander I used. I love Text Expander. If you're not using Text Expander, it's such an incredible, it costs like $30 a year, and it just I don't have to remember any of these things anymore. I just have shortcuts to type them all in. All right, so I should do Tuesday. 5th, 3 p.m. Eastern. There's another part 3 in our 4-part. Part 3 of. I'm constantly. I love being able to type. Like I couldn't. I don't know how I would have written with pencil and paper. Part 3 of our 4-part series on writing a 30-second letter. Compelling call to action. Click for full details. Good. So that's that section. So I wanted to actually go. Right, I got a question on a call yesterday. Big giant letters.
What are you checking for?
So there's a question. So I'm on this in this section. I do an elevator pitch Q&A. So I'm looking. I have a question that someone asked, but I think I have an article about it. And so I'm looking for that article. I think I do want this one. Right. So I need to go back here. So actually, this is a really old article. When did I write? I wrote this a really long time ago, and I can see that it's I don't stylistically. It's got a few kinks in it. So before how to spell. Yeah, I used to really treat this every time I went. You led me there. I'm just making it sound more like my voice now. Pick up the best pizza in Wellesley, which would be Roger Elleridge, because there wasn't. Well, fine. How many people optimized their elevator pitch? All right. Same thing. This day, I have no idea where in Wellesley, my high school, and Billy lived, even though I drove myself to his house on many occasions. I have a very good sense of direction. Unlike my youngest brother, I always had my glasses on. I mean, I was driving the car, for goodness sake. I never actually really asked around. I was kind of a nerd in high school. And my other friends, I still remember where they live. Peter, Susie, another Peter, Stephen, who made Billy's house in the Bermuda Triangle of my childhood. Simple. I didn't go to Billy's house that often. Every time I went, he led me there by taking a different route. Now, I'm pretty sure Billy's house didn't work for the CIA, so chances are he wasn't intentionally concealing his family's whereabouts. But he's optimizing to avoid traffic lights, press by Sargasso, pick up pizza in Wellesley. But you've been thinking about your elevator pitch, because while there wasn't a particular reason to really make it easy for me to find his house, you have every reason to make it very easy for prospects to find you. Yes, you know, you feel off right or anything like that. They wing it, they change it up based on the audience, they ramble. What makes it hard for your prospects to find you? Car repair bathroom to your front door. And reinforce that pattern every time they see you. All right, so I'm going to update this guy.
And this guy is what? Was that an older post?
It's something I wrote. I'll tell you in a second when I wrote it. Yeah, so this is an article I wrote years ago.
Yeah. And then how are you utilizing that now in this? You
I'm
were
gonna
writing
show
the
you.
message.
I'm gonna show you. I just wing it. I just I'm asking a question he asked me. So I had a guy on a call yesterday who was he's like, oh, I just make it up. I make it up in the moment. Like, I don't, I don't like to be too canned. I'm like, you can do that, but the picture of can't it just work to wing it? So I know a lot of people make their elevator pitch up on the spot. There's two reasons that's not a good idea. One, to get better leads, actually, there's only one reason. Two reasons that's not a good idea. Stations. That's not a good idea. One, your goal is to start conversation, become a new elevator pitch. Two, goal to start conversation, become a new elevator pitch every time you're leaving. Good chance. Leads. Two. Trust. This new elements. That's trust and keeps. And so here I'm going to say don't realize Billy. And that's going to be a link to the article I just edited. So this is just me repurposing stuff. Like I got a question and I wanted to answer the question, and there's a kind of a short answer to the question, but it gives some people something else to read. So yeah, so that's the Q&A section. That's the most difficult part. Now I just replaced the image here with the image from here. comes out too big, so I edit it. I do about 300, usually 300 pixels wide is about the right. That's what I like. And then we do secret. Elevator pitch. And then I just go back to this guy. That should have to, there we go. So the geek in me secretly likes it when so the secret is you still have to read the rest of the article. I can get the URL. And then down at the bottom, I have the coaching programs, and nobody seems to read that far, but someday maybe someone will. All right, so now I preview this. What you mean? I just have to check. I check all the links because I've gotten the links wrong so many times. That brings up Secret Life. It should bring up H7 stuff. So I just check all the links because again, I've sent out many a newsletter. Calendar. So I'm changing this to 4 steps to write your 30-second elevator pitch. The ABCs, the ABCs don't really mean, the ABCs are my secret sauce, but it's not really why people are signing up. It's only 4 steps. Yeah. It's gonna go out 19. Yeah, it's gonna go out next Wednesday at 10 a.m. I think it should be sent. Done.